Folks, it should come as no surprise that we have some very large metros that are highly impacted by tech companies, right? A couple of years ago, when we saw tech companies like Alphabet, Google, Facebook, Meta, and others announce massive layoffs, it has an effect on the local economy. Just last night, Amazon announced the largest white-collar reduction in force ever, and a lot of Amazon employees are up in Beth's area. So we've got to talk about what this could mean, what this might mean. Is this the shot across the bow and many more tech companies will have layoffs? Is it a sign that the Bay Area, Seattle, Austin, and other tech-heavy cities are going to crumble? Let's have a talk. Beth, how you doing?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Remember, you say that every time. Yeah.
I remember.
It's morning here where we're talking today. So it's definitely on everybody's mind right now. So it was just announced. There was a leak on Tuesday, on Tuesday, Monday, that there was going to be up to 30,000 layoffs, and everyone was floored by that. And then I almost wonder if that was a strategic move to be like, oh, it's only 14. It's only 14. Not 30. So okay, so much better. Still a lot. Now here in the greater Seattle area where I live and work, we've got about 18% of the total corporate employees for Amazon are here. You know, they gave the numbers in the Seattle Times, and we looked at that. And so if you looked at it proportionately, if it was evenly distributed, that's about 2,500 or so layoffs here in the Seattle area. Yeah. And that's big enough to make an impact for sure. It reflects a lot on previous layoffs we've had earlier this year. I know this spring, Microsoft made some big announcements, and they laid off about that many executives as well. It seems to be the executives, the management roles being hit.
Middle management,
Middle management being eliminated, phased out. There's some debate as to whether is this because of AI. I'm sure it's at least partly because of that.
For sure.
And also the billions they're investing into AI. I don't pretend to be an expert in tech or any of that. I just know what I hear. And we do work with a lot of folks that work in tech. That's a big part of our client base here. It's a lot of the buyers, a lot of the sellers. I know that this March, April, May, when they were making these rounds of layoffs with Microsoft, I know that it really did put a big damper on our spring market. And it never really caught up. That plus the tariffs were just enough to make everything come to a screeching halt for a while there, right in the middle of our busy season. It's early to know what's going to happen here. You know, one of my team members walked in, and one of our past clients he was a higher up manager, and she said he got laid off, and people are finding out today.
Yeah. So I think, again, having studied the consumer and unfortunately been through, more rounds of layoffs in tech than I care to admit over my 20-some years, I can tell you that very likely, this time will be the same. What does that mean? Well, when you think about real estate, the world that you're in, you have buyers and sellers, and both of them will be impacted, but one of them is immediate. One of them is delayed. Okay. What does that mean? Buyer psychology will be impacted immediately. For example, it would not shock me that you may have had some buyers out shopping this weekend that suddenly heard this announcement on Monday, and now they are out of the market, right? That's how fast buyer psychology could be dented. Now, again, these individuals don't actually have to be impacted by the RIF or the layoff. They just have to be afraid of the next one. Right. Because again, one of the things we've learned in tech is there's usually rounds of these. And again, maybe at Amazon, it was going to be 30 and they only did 14, and they're going to do a round 2 in January. You don't know. Yeah, so again, buyer demand, buyer activity will be impacted almost immediately. And you may be seeing numbers already. If not, you'll certainly see them by this weekend. Now for sellers. Sellers, typically speaking, even if they're directly impacted like your past client, they're not going to list immediately because they are taken aback. They are surprised. They are also very likely to get rather large severances, especially in tech, probably 6 months, could be longer. And that's going to give them time. That's going to give them time to take a deep breath, to see what's what, to look for a new job. And you won't see an impact from sellers probably for at least 90 days. Because again, it's not like you get laid off and you suddenly list your house. That's not how it works, right? You get laid off, you take some time to, put your resume together, hit your network, and maybe in a couple of months you get a job somewhere else, which forces a sale. So when I step back and think about Seattle and maybe what's coming to the Bay Area with tech layoffs, buyer demand is immediate and seller demand is delayed at least 90 days. What do you think of that?
I think that's absolutely true. I mean, you see it immediately because the buyers, if they're out shopping and they feel uncertain about their jobs, they're likely to put their plans on hold.
Yeah.
And maybe as time goes on, they'll come back, or maybe they won't. Who knows? Like I know a lot of Microsoft folks were in that spot earlier this year, and some came back, some didn't.
Some
Our
never did.
market's still
Yeah.
plugging along, but it's not
Yeah.
like that rush that was interrupted never came back, has not come back. I'll be curious to see what happens in January, February, because that's when we typically see that surge.
Mhm.
If it's less or doesn't arrive, then that will be really interesting to see. And that would,
Yeah.
if that does happen, I would think that these layoffs would be a huge part of it, especially on the east side where I am, where that's where
Yeah.
it's more of those. The high price points are higher. The buyer base is people that work for these employers. I mean, there's a lot of them. It's not just Amazon, it's not just Microsoft, but it's
There are
a
others.
whole
Yep.
host of them. But then there's this there's overall feeling of not feeling secure. That's this.
That's a good. I'm glad.
Says,
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because in my example, I was talking about buyers and sellers that are employed by Amazon. But I think you bring up an excellent point that bears repeating: is this will dent all tech workers' psychology, right? You might work at Meta, or you might work at Tesla, or you might work at one of the other Mag 7s, NVIDIA, and you see what's going on at Amazon, and some of you might be hesitant, right? Are you going to really sign up for that $1 million mortgage? Yes, you can afford it. Yes, you have the down payment. Yes, yes, yes. But you know what? Some of you are going to take a pause and go, you know what? Let's see where this AI thing goes, and let's see if my company's next. And it's just going to delay purchases across the board. I think tech heavy areas like the Bay Area, like Austin, like Seattle, it wouldn't shock me if buyer demand goes down, especially above the median, because you bring up an excellent point. These are middle managers, executives, likely with pay packages in the hundreds of thousands.
Yes.
And they're buying above the median in most cases, and they're going to be like, you know what? I'm going to wait till the spring. I'm out. I'm just out.
We've already seen the higher end ever since this spring when those first round of layoffs started with Microsoft. These are the ones that were made the news. That's that for us, the 2 million and up has been languishing ever since. So
yeah, it makes total sense.
And it does. People are using their large salaries and their stocks, et cetera, to pay for these expensive homes. And they may not, especially if they don't know where they're going to be, if they end up getting a job somewhere else. I'll be curious to see how much of this might be influenced by return to work too. Like I know Amazon was really adamant about, you better get back here to the office.
Yeah.
And you need to be here in the office. And if people were not doing that, I wouldn't be surprised at all if those were the ones that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The
other thing I was thinking about, again, we've had this government shutdown now going on 28 or 29 days. I'm curious if that's been long enough for you to see, the time in escrow grow, because I'm hearing people, getting FHA, VA loans. They're getting done, but they're just taking much longer, like an extra week or two. I don't know if you do a lot of FHA or VA or have, other realtors that are talking about this, but has the government shutdown slowed transactions at all, or do you not know?
No, not that I've seen yet. We haven't had an FHA or VA since the shutdown.
Oh, okay.
So
there you go.
When we would have one last month before that, I mean, I don't mean to sound like that, but just because of the price tier.
Yep, of course.
We don't. Most of the purchases are going to be conventional or jumbo conventional in our area, just because of the loan amounts.
Sure.
But it wouldn't surprise me at all if things do slow down, just because getting the.
Yeah, we're going to see tomorrow. We get pending home sales for the country tomorrow, and I just can't imagine how it wouldn't impact it. Right.
Yeah,
If you
it would
go
have
from people were pretty good at 21 to 28 days closing with those types of loans. The last 12 months, it's got to be more like 35 to 45 days now. It's just less
Yeah,
people,
and
less
if you're
volume.
midstream on a deal, sometimes people don't really understand how horrendously inconvenient that is for everyone. If you've got your moving plans lined up and
Oh,
the person you're buying from has their moving plans,
mm,
everything's like a domino, and then like
yeah.
something like that happens, it just
Contingency. Yeah.
messes up with people's lives. And
Crazy.
um,
Crazy.
yeah, I do expect that will be a definite complication for the foreseeable. And I would
Yeah.
imagine even when everything opens back up again, it'll take some time to get
Oh,
through
for
that
sure. The
backlog.
volume.
Like this is probably going to impact us for months.
Oh, it'll probably be the rest of the year, to your point. I mean, at this point,
Yeah.
you probably won't clear the backlog until January. Well, we are entering the last 2 months of the year, kind of the winter arc, the winter season. Seattle typically slows down this type of year. You add on top of that layoff threats and a government shutdown. You thinking it's going to be a rather quiet end of the year?
I do. That's our normal seasonality. So you add this to the mix, it just furthers that. So
Yeah.
what we see now is there's a little bit of a bump in inventory and activity in September, October, and then it starts to taper off in November, going down through the end of the year.
Yep.
And where we don't see houses coming on the market because they're waiting to come on after the holidays, and then the inventory that's been maybe languishing on the market a little bit, where buyers feel like they have the opportunity to take their time and wait and shop
Yep.
amongst all these ones that are sitting out there in the market for 60 days plus. Once those start to get picked off and they don't get replaced, then we have a situation where there's low inventory, and whatever demand is left, even if it is less, there still is going to be demand. And if there's fewer homes for sale, that's what fuels our cycle going into the first quarter, which is our busiest. So it's feeding right into that. I don't think we'll see a whole lot going on between now and the end of the year. Although, I mean, don't get me wrong, like houses are selling, buyers are still buying, sellers are still selling. We're doing good business, but it definitely has a mood of just a quieter season right now.
Well, it's going to be fun to keep up with you as we get to the end of the year. We talk each and every Tuesday, which the audience and I greatly appreciate. Beth, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, buy or sell in King County, or better yet, get a referral to a top 1% agent around the country, how do they do that?
Yeah, they can find me on my website, BethTraversogroup.com, or just Google my name. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, etc. And I'm also in school, so you can find me in there if you want to send me a message.
There you go, folks. Tag her in school. Say hi. Beth is amazing. You won't regret it. Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.